Okay, hello people. I bring you greetings from the North American Division. I live in Maryland in the United States, and it is still morning here. It's almost lunchtime, whereas there it is almost dinner time. So glad you are here. I find great joy in teaching and earning Pathfinder honors. In fact, my role in Pathfinders here, not only being in a local club, an adventurer club and Pathfinder club, but also I get the joy of helping people get new honors created here in the North American Division. And animal camouflage is one of those that I helped through the process and approval just a few years ago. So glad that I get to present it now to you. Okay, this very first thing I'm going to ask you to do, if I can get my presentation to work. There you go. I'm a teacher and a pastor. Most of you don't care about that. Here's the part that you do care about. I want you to enter a poll at pollev.com/MarcoPhil369. Yeah, they didn't let me choose my own tag on that. Sorry about that. But if you can find that on another tab in your browser and enter your opinion. Do you think that your favorite camoed animal is a cheetah, a zebra, a walking stick, or some other hiding bug, a chameleon, or an octopus? Now, if you can't get in there or whatever, then chat is our backup. You know, we've got chat on both platforms. So either way, we'll get this figured out.
Let's do it. If you're able to have open this poll, excellent. If you don't, just put it in chat, guys. I'm going to count how many A, B, C, Ds. And so at the moment, we have one of each, which is in a terrible situation because this is not helping anybody. But what do you think, guys? Is it A, is it B, is it C, D, or E? All right, let's have a look. I'm going to check Facebook as well. That is there as well to check. So what do you think? What is your favorite camouflaged animal? Let me see. Mark, is it happening or not happening?
Oh, right there. Had it.
All right.
Okay, so far I've got a whole bunch for zebra. Most people are using your chat window there.
That's correct. That's correct.
Yeah.
We're having quite a well at the moment. We have 3 A's, 4 A's.
Okay, so cheetah has it today.
The cheetah is winning in our chat section. When it comes to your one, zebra, I like zebras too. I don't think it's very well camouflaged, by the way, but
well, you'll learn. By the end of the day, you'll think it is.
Well, that's great. That's good. I like how they look, but hey, here it is.
Okay, so here, let's get into the honor. Thank you so much for your opinion. As you notice, I've used those animals as part of my background because each of them represents a type of camouflage. Okay, our requirement number 1, if you're following in the worksheet, is define the following terms as related to animals hiding in nature. And we've got 2 words, adaptation and camouflage. They're not the same. So here's the first one. What is adaptation? Adaptation is not what this honor is about, but we got to know what it is so we kind of understand what to stay away from. Adaptation is a change in a plant or animal that makes it better able to live in a particular place or situation. Here are 2 birds that are cousins to each other. One is the large ground finch and one's the mangrove finch. They're cousins. Genetically, they are very similar, but you look at them and boy, howdy, do they look different. But they fit into their environment. They are cousins, but they look differently. They've adapted genetically. There's a whole process. There's a whole nother honor that talks about adaptation called the creationism honor. So if you are like, wow, adaptation, I'd like to know more. Check out the creationism honor and you're there. But what we're really talking about is something called camouflage. It's a shape or coloring which conceals. Yes, there is an animal there. Can you see it? Do you see it?
I think I can see it, Mark.
Check it out. I'll help you out.
Yes.
There you go. It's a moth hiding on the bark of that tree. Okay, so here you go. Here's the picture of some leaves on the forest floor. Do you see a bird? Maybe use your chat window and tell us no, yes, maybe.
Yes. Let's, yeah, I can say, Mark, I cannot see the bird on this one for sure.
You are not alone.
Where is it, Mark?
Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
Red circle shows you where it is, and I'll give you a picture zoomed in. Do you see the eyes? He's looking at you. His beak is right there in the middle. He's looking at you.
Oh, yes, I can see it.
Okay, I'm going to make it even easier for you. Give him the side portrait view. That's what was looking at you. We've now moved 90 degrees to the right. That's the bird that is sitting there in the leaves. They do it all the time. That's camouflage. That's called concealing coloration, concealing or hiding colors.
Wow, wow.
Yeah, pretty cool, huh? Okay, so I need your help on this one. We need to explain the purpose of animal camouflage, and I'm going to seriously need your help in the chat window. What are the purposes for an animal to camouflage? Now think about two things. We have both predators, that is the hunters. We also have the animals that are usually dinner, the prey. So think about it from both of those ways of thinking. What are the purposes? Why do animals have camouflage?
All right, Mark asked us to put that in the chat. Let's start typing. You know, make sure the guys as well on Facebook put your comment in the comment section. We got a first answer here. It says to hide from the predator. That's a one answer we've got in. Let me just see. Okay, not to get eaten is answer number 2. Keep them safe from predators. Somebody says both. Well done, well done. Okay, so it seems to me that though, those are main 2 underlying answers at the moment.
Yep. So here's the one that you can use if you want to use the quote fancy answer to put in your worksheet. I like your answers in the chat window just as well. Something that protects an animal from attack or helps it hunt more effectively by making it difficult to see in its environment. And there's different ways, as we're going to learn, different ways that things are difficult to see. It's not just that coloration like we had with our wonderful bird and moth. There's other ways, other types of animal camo. We'll get there in just a moment. Do you have it written down? Good. Remember, you can always go back when Pastor Deon posts the video, which he always does on YouTube every week. I get I subscribe to his channel, and I get the notice usually on Sabbath evening, sometimes on Sunday sometime, when he's posted the video, so you know it's going to be not too long. So requirement 3 says, describe and give an example of each of the following types of animal camouflage. Now we have concealing coloration. That's the one that we saw with the wonderful bird. Disguise, pretending to be something else. Mimicry and disruptive coloration. Let's jump into this. Notice these colors. These are going to be helpful. Red, concealing coloration. Purple, disruptive coloration. Brown for disguise, and green for mimicry. You ready? Let's first talk about concealing coloration. This is when an animal hides itself against a background of the same color. You could even add of the same texture. You saw how the leaves on the forest floor, they weren't just one color. They were a whole series of colors. But the bird had the same series of colors in his feathers. Wasn't that cool? Okay, so here's another example. That's an owl. See how he has the feathers to blend right in with his environment? Could that be helpful as he is hunting? He just looks like a snowflake or a snow shadow. Nobody notices. Concealing coloration. Of course, then there's disruptive coloration, which basically means is when animals have spots, stripes, or patterns to break up their outline so it doesn't stick out against the background. So they have stripes or spots or lines. Perfect example is a zebra. That is confusing for hunters' eyes. They don't know where to grab to take that zebra down. Where's the edge of that zebra, and which of those lines are his edge, and which ones are just part of him? Makes it really hard to hunt a zebra if you don't know where to grab him because you don't know which lines are which. We're used to lines going around the edge of something. And that helps us determine where people's arms, legs, and head are, right? Because of their shadow. Zebras are very different from that. Disruptive coloration. Then we have disguise. Now, disguise is when animals blend in with their surroundings by totally looking like something they are not. Maybe you've done this. You know, when you've like played hide and seek, you'll find a big limb and like stick it up in front of your face, trying to like pretend that you are the tree. You've done disguise if you've done that. Or maybe you've painted yourself or pretended to be something you're not. Maybe, well, you've probably not pretended to be a stick or a thorn, but there are animals that have leaf, coral, bark. Let me give you an example. This is really cool. Check this out. How's that bug? That's a type of katydid or locust family that look like a broken leaf. Boy, that'd be hard to see if you were a hunter, a predator trying to look for breakfast. That looks just like the leaf that tree is covered with. How do you find breakfast with a group of leaves? Then, of course, there's mimicry. Mimicry is, I think, my favorite type of animal camouflage because you can see the animal. It's not hiding. It simply looks like another dangerous or bad tasting or poisonous animal or insect. They basically pretend to be something they are not. Here's a great example. See this snake? This snake lives here in the States, in the southern parts of our country. I have seen these several times when I used to live in Florida. They're beautiful snakes, absolutely gorgeous. But their little teeth, if they can bite you, if they can gnaw into you, deadly, deadly venom. They really, really, really can put a damper on your day. But notice how the red and the yellow touch each other. Red on yellow kills a fellow, is the old saying here in the United States. Red on yellow kill a fellow. But check this one out. Boy, he looks similar. Red on black, venom he lacks. See that again? See how similar, the same colors.
I never knew these things, the snakes existed.
Oh,
But
they
now
do.
you're telling me they're different. It's unbelievable.
They are, but see how if you actually know that little rhyme,
Yes.
you can put the fear where it belongs and be cautious and stay away from the truly poisonous one.
Wow.
But simply be cautious and simply be respectful of the other. That doesn't mean, now, ladies and gentlemen, this is dipping over into reptiles just a little bit. That doesn't mean that non-poisonous snakes won't bite you. Because if they're scared, what has God given a lot of creatures? Biting ability, right? As part of their defenses to stay safe and stay alive. So could any snake bite if it's a wild snake and you grab it and it doesn't know what you're doing? And sure, we respect God's creation and God's creatures. These are wild creatures. But this is the one that can really, really, really send you to the hospital. This one, not so much. He's just bluffing. He hopes you'll stay away from him because he looks like that. And see, Pastor Dayan, we've already expanded your idea of animal camo now, haven't we?
Yes, you did.
Because you thought they all had to be concealing type.
That is correct. And then I remembered military ships. And when you told me that this is the way to confuse the enemy, and then it made sense.
Yeah. Military ships are a great modern example. And did you know, Pastor Dayan, you're already working on your advanced animal camouflage honor?
No, I didn't know that. That's
requirement 1 in the advanced camo says something to the effect of try to think of things that humans have done, in modern day life with mechanics and technology and stuff, to mimic or to copy some of the camouflage techniques that God did with his creation.
Wow.
And military would be a perfect example of that. Military has made use of disruptive coloration primarily.
Yes.
And at times, many a military force has been fooled by ships flying a different flag than they're really for. That would be an example of mimicry.
That's correct.
So Pathfinders, Pastor Dayon, you've already started on the advanced animal camo honor. So you only have like 4 or 5 requirements to go. So excellent. Good job on getting started. There we go. Okay, so here's the deal then. I want to show you a video of one of the coolest mimicry animals I've ever seen. This animal was not even discovered until a couple of years ago. Now, I'll warn you, Pathfinders, the reason that I also gave you the link is because sometimes it gets a little bit laggy. And so if it's laggy and it just doesn't quite work for you, it's only 1 minute and 48 seconds long. And afterwards, if you need to go back and see it for reals, so it's not laggy, you can click on the link because Pastor Dayon posts all of these slideshows as well. So here you go. Let's give it a try.
Unknown until it was spotted, first by fishermen off the coast of Indonesia in the 1990s. It looked like an octopus, but it could morph its shape in an instant to appear as seemingly any animal around it. At first, no one had any idea what it was.
The first time I saw it, I just was blown away. You couldn't get a more spectacular animal. It really is the pinnacle of wizardry.
Biologist Mark Norman was the first scientist to study this seemingly shapeless creature. He named it the mimic octopus.
The mimic octopus makes itself look like a living, moving animal. So it pulls all its arms around behind its body and swims along like a poisonous flatfish called a banded sole. In other cases, if it's getting attacked, it puts 6 arms down a hole and raises the other 2 arms to look like a poisonous sea snake that has bands along its body. If that's not enough, it'll swim along looking like a poisonous lionfish with these banded arms looking like the banded spines that come off these very deadly fish.
So far, 15 separate species are known to be in the mimic octopus act, and Norman is not always sure exactly what the mimic is doing. He observed this mimic scuttling along the sea bottom, looking something like a furry turkey with human legs.
Sometimes it's hard when you watch a mimic octopus doing what it does to interpret what's going on. It's a bit like looking at ink spots in a psychiatrist's office going, I don't know what that is. It could be a piano, it could be a fridge. So you get 3 or 4 divers together and you'll argue all night trying to work out what we think it was mimicking.
Where did nature's greatest actor come from?
Okay, and so there's just that little piece that's part of a much bigger movie, I am sure. The mimic octopus. How's that for cool? Okay, so now it's your turn. So Pathfinders, if you can enter bit.ly/animal camo honor, this will give you access to your own set of Quizlet. I'm going to show it here on the screen. But if you want to go back and review, I've basically taken these 4 areas so that you have more examples and so that you can quiz yourself, so that your instructor, your counselor, whatever, if they want to really know whether you really know what you're talking about when it comes to types of camouflage, you've got this down. So here's the Quizlet. Quizlet's a great resource for all kinds of things Pathfinder. But check this out. I want to go to flashcards. So we've got the 4 types of camo. What type of camouflage is this? I want to just press play, so it's going to be super fast. It's concealing coloration. Did you get it? Maybe. What type of camouflage is this? Oh, it's disguise. What about that one? Mimicry. See, it's fast, isn't it? Type of camo is that? Oh my goodness. Disguise, pretending to be a coral. Zebra, you should know this type of one. Disruptive, yeah. We just had this one in the video. And they called it concealing. I should have said mimicry on that one, shouldn't I have? That's disguise. Ooh, 2 different bugs that look the same. Must be mimicry. Ooh, can you see it? Can you see that tiger? Disruptive coloration. Oh, this one's blending in. What kind of camouflage? Yep, concealing coloration. Oh, these bugs that look like spines and thorns. Yeah, must be disguise. What about this fish that's down in the water? You can see him, so it must be disruptive coloration. The spots look like the sun. Two snakes, you know this one. Do you remember? There you go, mimicry. What about this one? What type of camo? Yeah, disguise coloration. Oh my, here we go. Concealing coloration. We saw that one earlier. Wow, so again, that link is so that you can go back and try it again. Make sure that you have all of those clearly down, because people will get these confused because they'll just go, oh, it's animal camouflage. But you know better. You're a Pathfinder and you're earning this honor. You can improve the conversation and improve the knowledge of other people. Concealing means they're hiding, kind of like that bird. Disruptive, that's kind of like the zebra. They just make your eyes have a hard time focusing. Disguise, pretending to be something you're not, like bugs pretending to be sticks. And then mimicry, pretending to be a poisonous animal even though you aren't. Okay, now here's where it gets fun. This is something you're going to have to do on your own, because there's no way we have time in a 45-minute session to be creative on 3 projects. There are like 10 or 8 projects possible. I want to focus on 3 or 4 that I think are really fun, but then I'm going to show you all the options. Whatever one works for you and your club and your instructor is great. Be sure to turn it in like you're supposed to for your leadership. So here you go. Create a game. You could create a game based on animal camouflage and then play it with a group. You could do matching. You know how you have the different cards either on a computer or on a, and you have to match the pictures? Maybe you could do a trivia. Maybe you could use Quizlet like I did. I made the game for you to play, so I get this one checked off for me. Okay, I already earned this several years ago. But if I had been trying to earn it, that would have been a great way to do this part of the requirement. Here's another option. Write and tell a children's story with an animal camouflage kind of theme. Now, for example, maybe you tell the story of how the devil uses mimicry. One great example, we'll talk about this one more later. Sin enters the garden through a camouflage serpent. The devil was pretending to be something else, something harmless, even though he was very harmful. That'd be mimicry, wouldn't it? Of course, other examples, false Christs of Matthew 24 mimic Jesus, just like the king snake that mimics the coral snake. Or maybe disguise. Sin is often disguised as something good or harmless. That could be called mimicry too, couldn't it? Yeah, so write or tell a children's story. Now here's, for those of you that are like, man, how in the world, Pastor Mark, how do I do a story time story? To start out with as you're building the story, because you really shouldn't try to wing it. Don't just get up front and just start talking. I know you've seen your leaders do that sometimes. Not a good plan for them or you. Plan ahead. Ask yourself as you're building the story, ask yourself a couple of questions. What animal do I wish to use to build the lesson? And what category of animal is that in camouflage? What lesson do I wish to share that I got the animal for? Do I need to find a picture? In some cases, you'll need a picture because you're not picking up a coral snake and taking it to church or even picking it up to show it on a video. No matter what. Sometimes, though, maybe you know somebody who owns a king snake. Some people have those as pets. Maybe you could find a katydid. Maybe a rose with thorns plus a picture of the bug that looks like the thorns. All kinds of ways. Try to be as three-dimensional as possible. Of course, you've got to figure out what your main point is. What do you want to make sure kids walk away learning? What do you want to make sure the adults learn after you're done talking? And this is where you usually end your illustration. You usually finish your story time by stating, just saying it. And from this, we can learn that, and then finish the sentence. I know it may sound a little bit simple, but a lot of times, especially kids that are younger than you, if you don't state what you want them to have gotten from the story, they may not get anything from the story. God has blessed us with the different developmental levels as we grow up. And when children are little, you know, story time age, they need you to just tell them what you discovered as you learned about this story. So make sure you have a main point. You can also find some facts about the animal to help them get into the story. And make sure you end with that main point. Make sure that you're connecting to a Bible truth. Some people even use a Bible text, a memory verse that they can include as part of the story. All good principles of how to make a really good story. You might do that. And I don't know about you, but around here, since our churches still are not meeting, my guess is the same there in UK, we're doing a lot of video story times. I can't tell you how many stories I've recorded for story times at my church and other churches in the area. So contact your pastor, contact your children's ministries team and say, hey, I've got a story about animal camouflage. I built it. Here it is. I'll record it for you. I'll send it to you. And you'd be surprised. Most times they'll use it for the Bibles, for the story time story very, very quickly. Another way that you might be able to fulfill this requirement, because you remember, you've got to do 3. Maybe you're not the type to get up front to do a story time, even if it's just on video and you're not really up front. Maybe you'd rather spend a half an hour observing an animal which uses camouflage in its natural setting if possible. Now, here's the cool thing. Have you ever Googled zoo webcams? There are all kinds of zoos and natural parks that have webcams installed in the cages and in the wildlife areas at their zoo. You can watch over a webcam, because my guess is that, like here, our zoos are still closed. You can't go in and visit. You can't go look unless you have an animal camouflage living in your home already. You're out of luck. But webcams are still live and well. Be sure to set your timer, because a half an hour is longer than you think it is. And you don't want to cheat on the honor by thinking a half an hour went by when really only 6 minutes went by. Pathfinders are pure and kind and true. That means we truthfully spend the half an hour, not just sort of spend the half an hour. Make notes. Take some photos. You know that screenshot ability that you have on your computer? Screenshot what's going on the webcam and turn that into your instructor. My guess is you'll be surprised how much an animal camouflage can move and change its position and do things without ever becoming, quote, visible to their predator or easily detectable by their prey. I think you'd be surprised. Another option you might enjoy is create a scaled model of an animal's environment. You know those plastic animals like cheetahs and zebras and some of these other ones that you can get, the little plastic animals? You could create a scale model home for that zebra or set of zebras or that cheetah, make it so it looks like they've blended in. If they're using disruptive coloration, you'd want to get several zebras so it looks like they're all just one mass. If you're using an animal that is supposed to blend into its environment, make it so it blends in. Emphasize how the animal uses camouflage to survive. Have fun with that one. Of course, you could create a poster of different environments or other display. One thing that I have seen several of my Pathfinders do that they've really enjoyed is creating a children's book. And you can simply create basically an 8-pager. One page describes the term. The other one has a nice drawing that you have drawn. I would suggest drawing over just printing it from the internet. Printing from the internet may make a very pretty picture, but it's kind of cheesy. Your art is probably more real and more likable, especially by younger kids. Maybe you have a discussion about animal camouflage types and what difference it makes, or do a scrapbook, all kinds of multimedia stuff. Maybe you do an Instagram kind of series or something that some video you create for YouTube. The option is always that you could create another type of project that's just as hard and just as challenging and helps you learn about animal camo. Here's the deal though. make sure you check out with the person who's going to give you the honor at the end when you're all done. Make sure they're okay with your idea, because it'd be a bummer to spend some time building or doing something and then your instructor goes, did you really think this through at the beginning? Make sure that you've done your homework ahead of time. Requirement number 5, discover how Satan uses disguise to deceive people regarding Jesus' plan of redemption. Now, you include the following passages in your discussion. Then here's the fun part. You get to portray your findings in a skit, play, or puppet show. Now, here's where the fun can really get fun. Since we're all in shutdown at home, most places in our world, you can use video software to have different people record their part, and then you do what's called mashup. You put all the video parts together using some online software like WeVideo or iMovie if you have a Mac. All kinds of ways that you can turn it in and make it a really cool interactive video. And again, could you kind of combine this one with the skit for requirement number 4? Sure you could. If you have a Bible story that is about camouflage, and then you combine some object lesson part, you could do it all in one wonderful story that your church would love to share for their story time. Okay, so Genesis 3. Maybe you remember the story here, chapters 2 and 3 in Patriarchs and Prophets, tells the same story. Now, especially for the parents that are listening in, Patriarchs and Prophets was written back in the early 1900s, late 1800s. I don't remember exactly which. And so the English language has changed a little bit. I mean, I don't know how much it's changed there in the UK because, you know, UK English is special. But at least here in America, the language has changed quite a bit, and some people have a really hard time reading through the Old English that Ellen White wrote the originals in. That's why the White Estate has planned and has instituted a set of 5 new books. I think they've been out about 4 years now, where they've taken the chapters from Patriarchs and Prophets and many of the other books and rewritten them in more modern English. I would recommend using the book Beginning of the End, which is available on the White Estate under modern English is their category. I've linked both chapters 2 and 3 here, just so that you can go back and read those chapters. Pathfinders, I would suggest spreading it over several family worships in the evening, or maybe your personal devotions in the morning. However you do that in your devotional experience, spread it out over several days, because the chapters are still, you know, they're longish. You can't do it all in a day probably. And you'll enjoy it more if you've spent a little bit more time on it anyway. I want to highlight a couple of verses though. Genesis 3 verse 1 begins with the key phrase, "Now the serpent was more crafty than any of the wild animals that the Lord God had made." Then it goes on in the next several verses to explain how the snake was a talking snake. Now, Pathfinders, do snakes really talk? Have you ever heard of a talking snake? You ever seen one talk? They don't really talk. This is like Camo at the very beginning. Only in the 3rd chapter of the whole Bible, animal camouflage is started. And this is the worst version of it because Satan treats the snake as a puppet. I guess we should do finger shadows, shouldn't we? Let me see, what would that be like from our earlier adventure award? Something like that maybe, Pastor?
That's right, Mark, that's right.
There we go. And so the snake, Satan uses it to pretend that his storyline is legit. His storyline is not legit. God did not try to keep things from Adam and Eve that Adam and Eve needed in order to fully enjoy life. They had the best life possible. Truly they did. Ever since then, thanks to their being fooled by the mimic, we've had not as good a life as we could have had otherwise. Fortunately, God doesn't let the mimic win. Do you know how the story ends in the end of Revelation? You're right. The Eden garden is made new on an earth made new. And there's no tree of knowledge of good and evil. There's no Satan because he's dead forever. There's no mimic snake. There'll probably be some very beautiful snakes. And in heaven, okay, all of those of you that are totally freaked out by snakes, you won't have to worry about it because they won't be fearful anymore. That fear thing is gone. We can just enjoy the beauty of God's snakes. I like how beginning of the end, the rewrite of Patriarchs and Prophets says it in chapter 2. And this is the first couple of paragraphs. The angels warned Adam and Eve to be on guard against the schemes of Satan. God knew that Satan was going to try something sneaky, right? If they firmly resisted his first subtle enticings, they would be safe. But if they once yielded to temptation, their nature would become so depraved that in themselves they would have no power and no ability to resist Satan. So to accomplish his work without being detected, Satan put on a disguise. Ooh, we have an animal camo word there, don't we? The serpent was one of the wisest and most beautiful creatures. It had dazzling brightness. Resting in the forbidden tree, feasting on the delicious fruit, it was an object to arrest attention and delight the eye. Thus, in the garden of peace, there lurked a destroyer. Ooh, makes you want to read the rest of the chapter, doesn't it? Now, what do you do next? Well, first of all, you need to complete the requirements in a way that meets your instructors, your reviewers' specifications. So make sure you do that. Make sure you turn in your 3 projects. Choose your 3. You saw that there were plenty of options, right? So make sure you choose your 3, do them well, turn them into your instructor, and don't forget you can be a ministry leader in your church by also involving your church with some videos and stuff like that, whether that's a puppet show with some of your friends or a skit, or whether that is a story time or both of the above. Make sure that you do ministry as part of earning this honor. What else can you do? I would suggest that you go to wiki.pathfindersonline.org and look up the Advanced Animal Camo Honor. My guess is that you could work on both of them kind of at the same time and get 2 honor patches, well, a patch plus a star for just 1 bundle of effort. And the cool thing is, Pastor Dayon, the stars are cheaper to purchase than the patches are. So for club leaders, they're glad to pass out advanced stars because they cost a lot less, but show that the Pathfinders have learned a lot more.
Amen.
Now, you may wonder, where's the worksheet for this honor? If you didn't get the email, I hope you did. But there's also a copy at that link there, bit.ly/animal camo PDF. The slideshow is available for download there at bit.ly/animal camo slides, as well as on your division's, your British Union website. And I believe the link is also on the YouTube when you get the YouTube published, right, Pastor?
That's correct. That's correct.
Cool. And most of all, whether you're a Pathfinder or whether you're a Pathfinder leader, wiki.pathfindersonline.org is a great location to find all kinds of honors that are available and that would love to have you earn them. Did you know that there are over 600 Pathfinder honors? Yeah. I've earned about 225 of them. To think I've only earned about 1/3.
Wow.
There's so many more to learn and earn. Oh, goodness. Okay, so I want to show you a couple of the honors that are related to this one that you may not have earned yet. There's the bats, the dinosaurs, marine mammals, marsupials, raptors, reptiles, odonates, otherwise known as dragonflies, dogs, cetaceans, worms. Those are some ones that are related. Of course, I didn't include some other ones that could have been here, like cats, like mammals, like mammal pets. There's so many honors that are related to God's great creation. And I could have also put in this list the creationism honor, which is a really hard honor. It's more like a teenager's kind of level honor, but it can be a real benefit if you've really wondered how all of these different animals and all these animal types fit into God's universe. Well, Pastor Dayon,